Guys, welcome to the show on a Tuesday. My name is Jerry Miller. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. It's good to be with you. Thank you for joining us. Today is a shortened program, an abbreviated version of the show, as we look to expand the network and, frankly, sign a contract today to expand the I Love CVille Network. Details to come. I talked about that yesterday. We're going to introduce a new program soon on the network, and maybe turn of the calendar 2021. We may get it under the radar here in 2020, right before the Christmas holiday, but it's going to be a Spanish-focused show that spotlights the Hispanic community in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. I'm really excited about this program and the individuals who are going to be hosting the show. Names that you will know and recognize. I will leave it at that. That contract, John Hancocked in roughly 28 minutes here in the Macklin Building on Market Street. Still, the show must go on. We have news we got to get to, including an established name in Charlottesville and Central Virginia who announced on this network this morning that he will not run for city council next cycle. That story coming up for you in moments. Remember Mayor Nakia Walker and Councilor Heather Hill, both those seats up for re-election November 2021. We have a little bit of clarity on who is running that we will pass along to you here on the I Love CVille Show. A theme park reopening in the Commonwealth, positive news. Of course, the Pfizer vaccine and 90% effective has got a lot of people hopping on airplanes and going to Disney World. It's got movie theater stocks like AMC popping 50+% over the last 36 hours. The Pfizer news has got a lot of consumer confidence. We'll see that from a theme park in Virginia. We'll see that with the lighting of a Christmas tree here in Charlottesville. Those stories coming up for you. We have a public school system in the Commonwealth who says, hell no, we're not going to play winter sports. We may have gotten the green light from the Virginia High School League. We may have gotten the green light from the governor's office, but I'm the superintendent of this school system, and I say we're not going to play winter sports. That story coming up for you. We'll see how that could influence other public school systems in Virginia. And if you're a fan of college basketball, which, let's cut to the chase, with Tony Bennett in Charlottesville, we're fans of college basketball. The Wahoo men's basketball team, preseason number 4. The highest preseason ranking for this men's basketball team since the Ralph Sampson era. That story coming up, along with what Duke basketball, Mike Krzyzewski, and the Cameron Crazies can expect for Cameron Indoor Stadium this coming campaign. A little not great news for basketball in Durham. That story in a matter of moments. Thank you for joining us. We're live across the network on a show that you can interact with and offer your perspective in the comment section. Facebook, Instagram, wherever it may be. We'd love to give some love to Interstate Pest and Service Companies. 4 generations of family behind Interstate Pest and Service Companies. Just real good people. Real good family. Hardworking, honest, care about their employees, their customers. 51 years of business. You don't stay in business for 51 years unless you're doing it the right way. A home's best friend, Interstate Pest and Service Companies. Judah, do you have the sound ready from Real Talk this morning on the I Love CVille Network? You do have that? Wait for my cue on this. This morning, Keith Smith, the distinguished gentleman on Real Talk, invited 3 Marines. It's a big day for Marines. And it's Scott Morris on, Bellamy Brown, and James King. James King of King Family Vineyards. Scott Morris, one of the best lenders in the business. Bellamy Brown, I'm a huge fan of him on this program. A gentleman who's got a law degree, finance background, a Marine, a gentleman who ran for city council, one who I think the world of. He's on the Police Civilian Review Board now. He's an influencer with bridging the gap, the wealth gap, the social justice gap in this community. Just a community leader. In the process of chatting with Bellamy Brown, and Judah, I'm going to give you a countdown to play that sound. In the process of chatting with Bellamy Brown on Real Talk, the concept of him running for council in 2021 came up. Heather Hill's spot is up for grabs. Mayor Nikaya Walker, her spot, also up for grabs. This is news that has yet to be reported. This is news that will quickly make its rounds. I was a little saddened by this because I think Bellamy has so much to offer the community. At the same time, he's already emotionally and physically invested now through his work with the Civilian Review Board in bettering Charlottesville and Central Virginia. So, Judah, let's hear the sound from Real Talk this morning, 10:15 a.m., and Friday at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille Network. This is Bellamy Brown on his intentions for running for re-election November 2021 in what should be a very closely contested 2 spots up for grabs on council. Judah, 3, 2, 1.
Hopefully you will put your hat back in the ring.
Yeah, please,
again,
Bellamy.
Hopefully, we'll always.
I'm going to straight up beg you to do that, Bellamy.
I don't think I'm really tied to Civilian Review Board and the Minority Business Commission right now. I don't think I'm going to do anything here locally on the next cycle. I think there's some important work on both of those.
Good for you, man.
For the community at large that I'm dedicated to, and I want to get that done and see that through.
You're on with James,
so
right?
I won't be doing the city council thing this cycle.
Hopefully.
So Bellamy acknowledges he is not going to run for council in 2021 next election cycle. That's impactful. He's a qualified candidate, undoubtedly a community leader, and someone who I think is an agent of positive change. I think he is one of the fine gentlemen in this community, someone who grew up in the community and is committed to making it better. Whatever he does, I'm confident he will offer positive execution for Charlottesville and Central Virginia. We'll follow that. I think that's a story that's going to make its rounds across the media outlets soon. Another one that's making its rounds, 24 hours after Pfizer says it's got a vaccine that's 90% effective, King's Dominion and many other theme parks across America are saying they're reopening. King's Dominion straight up said, we're going to reopen in 2020 for a holiday taste of the season type of outdoor holiday experience. It's no coincidence that this happens 24 hours after Pfizer's vaccine news. It's no coincidence that Disney World and Disneyland are doing the same. It's no coincidence that the airline stocks are popping. It's no coincidence that the apartment, the REIT stocks, the publicly real estate investment trust stocks that have many apartments in their portfolio in big cities like New York, it's no coincidence that they're popping again. You know, this is consumer confidence. We're seeing it once again with King's Dominion saying they're going to reopen for the holidays in a taste of the season outdoor holiday extravaganza. More will follow suit. I expect more movie theaters to quickly get things in order for a potential holiday reopening, Q1 reopening. Consumer confidence is popping, and it's happening at the right time in Q4, where potentially Q4 holiday, retail, shopping, restaurant, just the money we put into the economy in the final 3 months, heck, in the final 45 days of the campaign, is going to go a long way in determining how 2020 turns out. The final 45 days, you may see an uptick in revenue with consumer confidence increasing, and what's been a very difficult 2020 campaign could be potentially not as difficult for businesses from California to Virginia, Texas to Alaska. King's Dominion says, fans rejoice. We will open our gates for the first time this holiday season for an outdoor activity that starts December 5th and will run through December 27th. No coincidence, this news 24 hours after Pfizer. More news on this front. Let's get the lighting of the lawn, Judah Wickower. The lighting of the Christmas tree on the downtown mall. The tree's going up as we speak. The grand illumination will happen The tree literally being stood up at Central Place on the downtown mall as we speak right now. Saw it with my very own eyes. The grand illumination will happen on the downtown mall in Charlottesville, Virginia. Another sign of consumer confidence upticking in this very community. A 25-foot tall, 28-year-old Norway spruce is being installed at Central Place on the downtown mall, literally as we speak, by a crew of about a dozen workers. Positive. The grand illumination will happen on December 4th. It will be televised on NBC 29 and CW 29. Positive. Consumer confidence. Q4. Positive. Confidence. You see it everywhere. The tide is changing. Now, one of them that could be potentially construed as not as positive, I'm going to kind of consider it as being cautious instead of not as positive, comes from Richmond Public School System. The Richmond superintendent of the public school system in Richmond, Virginia said, look, we're just not going to do winter sports. There's too much uncertainty and vulnerability that's happening. He sent a letter last night to the school division. He said our public schools, Armstrong, Huguenot, Thomas Jefferson, John Marshall, George Wythe, we're not going to have a winter sports season. That winter sports season includes boys and girls basketball, gymnastics, indoor track, swimming and diving, and wrestling. Richmond Public Schools, just not going to happen. Now, it's interesting because Henrico Public Schools have been folks that have been pushing the tempo throughout COVID. I mentioned on yesterday's show the Henrico and the Chesterfield County Public School System. Chesterfield County Public School System. All its kids are in school right now. Henrico is another one of those school systems that's really pushing the tempo and getting kids in the classroom. Henrico winter sports will happen. Richmond Public Schools will not happen. Watch how this could influence other school systems. Remember, the superintendent of the various school systems determines whether or not his or her schools will play sports in each season. The governor is given the autonomy to the respective school systems to make the call. That's why you see Chesterfield County Public Schools, all their kids, 64,000 of them, learning in person today. Albemarle County, City of Charlottesville, not the case. Richmond, not the case. The news out of the capital, the Commonwealth, is Richmond Public Schools will not have a winter sports season. That's big. I mean, John Marshall is the defending state champions. So you're talking about a team in John Marshall that won the Class II state title last year, one of the few basketball teams that got a state championship in before COVID canceled it. This particular John Marshall was bringing back a 6'10" center in Roosevelt Wheeler, who has major college basketball programs all over him, a point guard in Jason Nelson, already committed to the University of Richmond, and a sophomore in Dennis Parker, that's a big-time recruit. So John, this is a big-time knock for John Marshall, the defending state champion. And I have a feeling that this will impact other public school systems in Virginia as they say, hey, Richmond's not doing it. This is leverage for us not to do it as well. Only time will tell. Speaking of basketball, men's hoops, the UVA basketball schedule released. And I don't know about you, but I'm super pumped for basketball season. This team has got tremendous talent. Jay Huff back in the mix, a fifth year, a fan favorite. Kihei Clark, a fan favorite, a guy that's got now 2 years under his belt playing for Tony Bennett, a scrappy, persistent, pesky point guard, great on the ball defender, and a guy who could get everybody involved. I'm going to tell you, the guy that you got to watch out for, and I think is the guy that we're all expecting to have a breakout year, is the Marquette transfer in Sam Hauser. This guy is a lot of people's ACC preseason player of the year. I mean, a guy who at Marquette could shoot the basketball from downtown, could post up, could rebound, could play defense, could run the floor. This guy might be the best kept secret in the ACC, and the reason no one knows about him is he had to sit out a season after transferring from Marquette. This basketball team is preseason number 4, Judah Wickhauer, our director. The last time UVA was preseason ranked this high, the Ralph Sampson era, 1982-1983, the highest ranking number 4 preseason for Tony Bennett since 82-83. Duke also ranked very high. And by very high, I mean number 2 in the nation for Krzyzewski and the Duke Blue Devils. UVA plays Duke once, okay? UVA plays Duke once. That on the, quick correction, Duke number 9. In the ACC preseason top 25. Correction right there. That game happens in February in Cameron. Duke does not travel to John Paul Jones Arena this particular basketball season. So that's the marquee matchup. You got to like UVA's chances, man. They got some experience in the backcourt. They got an unknown in the Marquette transfer. They got a unicorn in Jay Huff that was really coming into his own at the end of last year before COVID shut the season down. And they got some first years who were 4-star prospects from rivals, 3 of them, that offer some depth from the bench. This team set to win and set to make a postseason push. Time will tell what Tony Bennett's men's basketball team does. And speaking of Duke, before we dot the I's and cross the T's on this, no fans at Cameron. Bummer. I mean, it seats just under 10,000 people. Duke has already said, we're not going to have fans inside Cameron Indoor Stadium. As huge fans of college basketball, all of us, Tony Bennett's influence, ACC Basketball City in Charlottesville, we should just hope to get to the season, to get to the ACC tournament, and to make it through March Madness. That's my hope. My hope is not to have a packed John Paul Jones Arena. My hope is not to be tailgating and camping out in Whoville outside the Jack with students waiting for seats as they rush a big-time college basketball matchup in Charlottesville. My hope is just to have a March Madness and an NCAA tournament. That's my hope. Cameron, no fans in the stands. Let's just have a tournament. Let's get those vaccines out to as many people as possible and have a tournament. Because I think this is a team in Virginia basketball that could have, from top to bottom, depth, inside scoring, outside scoring, perimeter and interior defense, and Tony Bennett as a coach, as good a chance to win a title as any out there in America. And I truly, sincerely mean that. 4 in the nation. Last time ranked that high, the Ralph Sampson era. I want to remind everybody that watches this program to tune into the Daily Digest at 5 o'clock on this network. The entire show, 5 minutes or less, 5 days a week at 5 o'clock. The I Love CVille Daily Digest. Basketball is less than a month away. I mean, heck, basketball is what? 18 days away? How excited is that? One more item out of the notebook. Unlike football, there is very little wiggle room in the ACC basketball schedule. So if a game is canceled due to COVID-19 in the ACC basketball schedule, the likelihood of it getting made back up again, not as strong as some of these makeups we're seeing in football. The ACC straight up said that. Another thing from the notebook, the regular season of men's basketball, ACC, goes almost to the day up to the men's basketball tournament. You have very little breathing room between the regular season schedule and the ACC tournament schedule. That means there's very little makeup opportunity for games getting postponed. Let's just hope we get the games in. Let's just be grateful we have Tony on the sidelines. Let's be grateful we get to see this Marquette transfer. Let's see what Kihei has done after 2 years in the program. And I think Jay Huff, God willing, could have a breakout year at his last year of eligibility, and maybe we see that unicorn potential where some folks unfairly, it's not a fair comparison, some folks unfairly comparing Huff to Dirk Nowitzki, right? It's not a fair comparison. You see he can shoot from downtown. You see he's a 7-footer. You see he's got post-up game. He's got a nice jump shot, and he can do a lot of things with the basketball. Nowitzki's a Hall of Famer. Let's not compare a fifth year at UVA to Nowitzki. Either way, I think the front court for this men's basketball team is going to be imposing. The Marquette transfer, along with Huff, that's some twin towers that can stroke it from downtown and post up inside. This team is looking really, really good. I'm 8 minutes away from signing a contract today in the Macklin building. I'm excited for that. We'll get that information out to you as the ink on the contract dries, as this network expands, and as we open up the I Love CVille Network to a new demographic of viewers and listeners. The Hispanic community is underserved, but certainly not undervalued. And we're going to value them at the I Love CVille Network by creating a show weekly that spotlights the hard work within the Hispanic community in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. Let me take care of that business. We will be back in the saddle tomorrow at 12:30 on the I Love CVille Show with what is shaping out to be just a fantastic program. Thank you kindly for joining us in an abbreviated version of the I Love CVille Show. My name is Jerry Miller. Have a good afternoon. Dude, Sam Hauser is going to be a beast. Hauser along with Jay Huff. I mean, that's a nasty little 1-2 punch. Along with Mason. That team is nice. Something to watch out. All right, let's get this contract going. I need to get this contract going here.